West Ham will be desperate to restart our Premier League campaign with a win against Wolves. David Moyes' side are just sitting above the relegation zone on goal difference alone. Meanwhile, Nuno Santos and Wolves resume their campaign in 7th place, just 5 points off Chelsea in 4th. And it's the away side that got the better of West Ham last time out with a 2-0 win at Molineux. And it would be the perfect time for West Ham to avenge that loss. Welcome back to Irons United. Welcome back to the Premier League. Welcome back to what is going to be a whirlwind of emotions over the next month. I am your host, Anton. This is our official preview. We're coming to you the night before, which is something we've not done before. Of course, you know my co-host, Stel. Stel, how are you?
I'm all good, mate. All good. Glad it's Friday. Looking forward to tomorrow. The apprehension has started.
Yeah.
The nerves have started. We kind of forgotten for the past 3 months what it's like to get ready for a game, haven't we?
Absolutely, mate. I was going to say, like, are you all prepared for your morning ritual when you get up, have your nice, what is it you have? Eggs Benedict, and then you get a nice cheeky rum, and then off in the train you head up to the London Stadium.
The better half is away tonight, so I'm not going to be making eggs Benedict. I'm going to be making eggs on toast. But yeah, I mean, it's not the same sort of ritual, is it? Really, the ritual is you get ready and prepare to go to the game, and we're not having that. And all I'm going to prepare is to go and sit in front of the TV. And it's odd, really. I mean, yeah, we do that on occasion when we don't go to an away match, but when it's a home game, that ritual kind of goes out the window, doesn't it? Now with what we're currently experiencing, but looking forward to it, I guess. You know, glad to have football back.
Football is back. Just what we need.
I've tried to watch a couple of the games. I mean, I know there's been a couple of games on already, but I can't do it. You know, it doesn't feel right. But you know, I think people have said when it's your team playing, it's going to be a bit different. So I'm hoping that tomorrow, 5:30, I'm going to be really excited. It's sitting on the sofa.
Fingers crossed, mate, with a couple of rums and coke. Listen, tonight we are bringing in a special guest. It's going to be from a Wolverhampton fans' perspective, but also a Wolverhampton fan channel. So I'm bringing in Finn from Talkin Wolves. Finn, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Echoing the same thoughts as you. Just glad to have it back. It has been strange watching the other games, so it's felt weird. Whether it'll still feel like that when it's Wolves on the screen, I don't know. But yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's been a really weird 3 months. I mean, obviously we all remember the start of this pandemic, and I mean, myself and Stel done a particular video on our channel, Finn, and we were just talking about, like, we just had no idea when football was coming back. We literally never had a single clue, as I suppose did anybody. But now we're sitting here. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm starting to get the buzz back on a little bit. Like, I'm getting that buzz, although it's not fully there yet. I don't know if it's real. It feels real. What does feel real is the fact that West Ham are in a relegation battle. We are joined.
Yeah.
We've got the same points. We're separated by goal difference at the bottom, and we now, I think, have got a real danger of getting relegated. But anyway, Finn.
Back to reality, eh?
Yeah. Just before we kind of go on to Wolverhampton, you're part of a channel, a YouTube channel, etc. Do you want to just explain it to some of the people on here?
Yeah. So we run Talkin Wolves. There's the three of us. I also do like vlogs of the game as well, but that's a separate thing. We've got a fan channel, much like yours. Reviews. Obviously, in the last few months, it's been all over the stuff. We've been looking at Wolves FIFA ratings and anything we could scrap together, really. So the last few months, it hasn't quite been the normal content, but yeah, reviews, previews, getting the fan side of stuff, because that's what people want to see. So yeah, it's been good the last few years.
Have you found it difficult to get content? Because we you know, there's quite a lot of West Ham channels. I'm sure there is for Wolves as well, and you know, we try to keep it fresh by trying to do things differently, and then you end up kind of almost coming to a standstill because you don't quite know where to take it when you don't actually have a game to talk about. You know, there's some channels that have done nostalgia. There's some channels that have, like, you guys have looked at maybe the stats and so on and so forth. But have you found it quite difficult to motivate yourself to talk about Wolves while there's no game on?
Definitely, and there's only so much watching an old game where you know what the score is going to be that you can take. Like, it just doesn't quite feel the same. If it was like the 3-2 Man City win and I knew it wasn't coming, it would have been the best 3 months ever. But yeah, it's been it's just something about knowing what the score is going to be. I've been watching. I mean, for example, Wolves won the Premier League a few months ago, which gave us a little bit of content with Jota winning the FIFA tournament. And you try and get up for that. I mean, winning something that was nice. I haven't seen Wolves win a trophy in a long time, apart from the Championship trophy, of course. But, that was fun. Yeah, so little stuff like that has been good to pass the time. But yeah, you can never replicate the feeling. You can never replicate that sort of. People don't want to watch as much as well when there's not something imminent or something you really, really care about. It has been hard, so it's very, very, very glad that it's coming back tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finn, has there been some news coming out Wolves today? Did Gomez, has he signed a new contract with yourselves today? Or is that
everyone thought he was. I think the Wolves media team may have misjudged that one. They just put out a video of Nuno sitting down ready to do an interview with the Wolves media staff and just put like soon or whatever. And obviously there's the rumours going around of the contracts. Everyone's going, he's signing, and all it was an interview. So it was. So yeah,
so
everyone
it's not just West Ham's media team. Then it's definitely all over Premier League clubs' media team.
Yeah.
So listen. Of course, we know what Wolves have done this year. Something I found really interesting was in the whole of the season so far up to date that you have only used 20 squad players.
Yeah, and half of them are gone now. We had a really poor transfer window this recent. So we brought in Catrone, who's now out on loan. Vallejo, who's gone on a sub loan. We've had unreal transfer windows before that, but this one hasn't been great. And some of those 20, as I said, have gone, and some of those 20 have been in the under 23s. We've got such a small squad. It's something Nuno likes, but when you're playing Sunday, Thursday at the start of the season, we're like, how are we going to manage? And somehow we're in a better position than we were last season, and we're still in the Europa League. How that's going to be resolved, I'm not sure at the moment. But yeah, I don't know how we've done it on 20 players, to be honest. But it's Nuno's thing. He says if there's you don't want that 90, even though we've used 20, you don't want that 19th, 20th man that knows he's not getting in the 18 for the match day. And he said we've had a few before that have sort of them been bad eggs almost because they're not in the squad, and you don't want that bleeding in. So even though the players have probably been really, really tired, I guess it's worked in that sense.
It's interesting because it kind of goes back to the old days. I mean, we just talked about looking at old football of the past. When I remember the days when you had one sub, you didn't have any more than that. And players in a squad would play. The same players would play a whole season. Back then, it was like 40 odd games or whatever it was in the old Division 1, and you'd have about, a squad of maybe 16 or something, but you'd only have 11 on the pitch and one sub, and it would usually be those same 12 players being played and throughout the whole season. So it kind of it's a good thing in one respect because those players really gel. That core of players really gel. But as you said, the minute someone's injured, that kind of throws everything out of kilter. Do you think that might sort of affect your season as you go along, especially now? The rest of the season being sort of pushed into the 6 weeks. You've still got Europe. You're allowed 5 subs. Do you think that's going to affect you or?
Yeah, well, as you say, I think, is it a total squad of 21 now? And we've only used 20 players like they're allowed after this. And we very rarely makes, it's like he's in the old days, to be honest. If he makes one sub, that's a surprise. He likes to keep that 11. At the start of the season, we were making 5-6 changes a game to the actual starting 11. And I think we were in the relegation zone until about game week 6-7. So he's definitely found a settled squad now. But like I was watching the Man City Arsenal game and they were dropping like flies, the muscle injuries. And stuff like that. So it is worrying. I think Wolves last season, anyway, we had the best injury record in the league, and it was unbelievable. I think it was 5 injuries and none were more than 3 weeks or something, and most of them were impact. So muscle-wise, we've been brilliant. Whether that's going to be tested now, but yeah, we'll be down to the bare bones very quickly. And the main one is Raul Jimenez because we've got no backup. To be honest, it's like there's so many rumours of him going. It's like if he goes, we need him, and then another one as well. We've got people that can play striker, so you've got Jota, but we need a target man, a guy to bring it all together. Just like when people say if you take Firmino out of Liverpool, he's the glue. Jimenez is that glue. So if he gets injured, I think it'll be a real struggle to then get Europe or anything like that.
He is really the real deal, isn't he? I really do like him. At one point, I think before he signed for Wolves, we were linked to him. To be fair, West Ham, probably every Premier League club but I think, did we not have a choice? I can't remember still. Was it a choice between him and Hernandez or something like that? I can't remember.
I heard a story that he overslept or something, or missed or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically, he didn't want to come to us. That's the bottom line.
Overslept.
but we talk about the that we always got the wrong Mexican, don't we? We kind of say that as a joke. You got Jimenez and we got Hernandez, and I think hang on, I know you love Hernandez, so I know, but I mean, Hernandez had the bigger name, didn't he? When we signed him, he was the player, and if most teams would have looked at those two, most teams would have gone for Hernandez because of his experience, etc. But Jimenez is, he's pulled. Yeah, I don't know where's he being rumored to be going to. What's the talk? Is it?
It's easier to list the teams that he hasn't. To be honest, there's been a new rumor every day. Juventus were a very strong one, but then with the money situation in Italy, they were offering us 4 players swap instead of money. Then there's been Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man United, Man City, Spurs. It's basically Jimenez and Traore are being linked to every team that's above Wolves in every league, to be honest.
It's really funny because we we do this channel and we end up living in a little bubble where we only think that it happens to West Ham. So it's interesting when we invite fans from other teams. And you guys talk about the same things as we always go on about, because if you look at our social media, just about every top player we've got is definitely going to leave without a shadow of a doubt. Declan Rice is going to Chelsea, and this player is going to there, and everywhere. And we kind of end up thinking it's only about us, but it's quite interesting. I mean, you guys are doing really well, and you're worried about losing some of your top players. It's quite intriguing.
Yeah, you do think that. You think, at what point do they not get? Well, at what point are they happy to stay in the media? You know what I mean? Like,
if they're at Man U or Man City.
Yeah.
I mean, you've mentioned a couple of players there, and a couple of players you've mentioned, Jimenez and Traore. Jimenez is 13 Premier League goals this year. He's also chipped in with his 6 assists, and then on top of that, Traore. I mean, he's a machine, isn't he? I mean, again, he was another player we were linked to. Was it Middlesbrough? You got him from?
When he was at Middlesbrough.
Yeah. I mean, just he's a proper machine, and we've got a player, right? We've got a kind of player. Everyone, beast mode, we call him. It's like Mikel Antonio. Thing is, Antonio doesn't have a great amount of skill, but when he's on that ball and he's attacking you, it's a fearful thing to look at. Now, I would say that I'm correct in saying Traore's a bit like that, but he does have a little bit of skill to go with it.
Yeah, and to be fair, I've sort of followed Antonio all the way through. It's almost like when he reached the Premier League, Wolves did. So I've seen all his championship years. He battered us for Sheffield Wednesday. I think he was at Nottingham Forest as well, and ran us ragged. So I'm a massive fan, and quite versatile as well. I mean, he's played right back, right wing, striker, and I'm a big fan. I'd say, Traore, it's sometimes you don't think he's got it all going on in his head. You think he doesn't even know what he's about to do, let alone the left back or the right back or whoever. But he's really improved on that this season. But I'd say skills is one of his main things. But when you've got that pace, you don't have to do a skill to get past someone. You literally, I wish I could do it. You just knock it past them and run. So even though he has got it, he doesn't often have to actually use it. But there is definitely skill there. He's come through the Barcelona academy, and you can see when he's on the ball that he probably has got a bit more. But Antonio scares me. Imagine them two on the wings. Actually, that'd be a scary team to come up against.
It's interesting because we're going to go in and talk about the game tomorrow, and it's going to be interesting to see how the teams line up, because I know you guys play, like, is it a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2 or whatever? You kind of play the wing backs, don't you? And and we're kind of pondering. It wouldn't surprise me that if David Moyes tried to combat Traore with Antonio, sort of try like for like.
The earthquake's going on in their tackles.
Absolutely. Can you imagine if they barge into each other? But that could be one thing that David Moyes might do in order to combat the powerhouse that Traore, because all teams have their weaknesses, and we think the left side of West Ham's team isn't necessarily the greatest, so if we have, for example, Creswell, he'll sit more as a left back rather than a marauding left back, and that would that will help Traore, kind of invite him to try and challenge and attack Creswell. So I mean, we don't know. We have no idea what the team's going to be, because I don't know about you guys, but everything has been kept really under wraps the last few weeks at West Ham. We tried to do some reviews on the 2 friendlies that we played, and we kind of guessed half of it because we really didn't know what was going on. But I don't know. Who do you think are going to be the players that are going to give us the most problems on your side?
Yeah, well, as you're saying about weaknesses, I think even though Traore is one of the standouts, there's been a real problem with him, whether he'll even start. He's had, I don't know, in the last 5 games before lockdown, his shoulder dislocated 3 times in those games. And I don't want to say, well, I'm going to say it. People were targeting it. It was almost like his Achilles heel, or like, I think Tanganga, Maguire all deliberately yanked at his shoulder and it just popped out. And the plan was to get it done over summer and get it, have surgery on it, and then he'd be out for the summer. And obviously, with what's been going on, it's completely thrown that plan out the window. So whether that's still going to be a problem, whether you for the first few minutes you just chuck someone on there to yank his arm off or whatever, that seems to be the thing that people are doing at the moment. But it's a bit prehistoric, isn't it? But yeah, that if he was on the West Ham team, that's what I'd be saying straight away. Just give a little yank at his arm. But as for players, if he does go off, obviously you've got Jimenez. We've just had Bolly back from a long-term injury. I think he broke his ankle. I think he's had, 5 games and we kept 4 clean sheets or whatever since he's come back. He's an absolute rock at the back.
Fantastically well, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he got injured in training. It was a real cover-up, as you're saying, like with the friendlies. It was a real cover-up as to what happened. There's rumours going around. Someone ran over his ankle in a car. He got injured in training. So no one knows what happened there, but he was out for a long time and we were very shaky at the back. So he's the rock there. So I suppose if Antonio's down that side with Bolly and Traore, he's got to run for his money there. But as for other players, another player that I think Wolves fans even are tipping to have a good lockdown season, these mini 9 games. We signed him in January, and that's Daniel Podence. We signed from Olympiacos, and we've hardly seen anything from him. Smallest player in the league, I think he's 5'3", absolute pocket rocket, and we haven't seen much of him.
Seems like it's just
crazy. Yeah.
Well, I'm a bit taller than that, just because you're a giant.
But no, yeah, I think Wolves fans are really backing him. He's left wing, right wing. I think I saw him in the Champions League against Spurs for Olympiacos, and he ran them ragged, bagged a goal as well. So we've only really seen 1 or 2 games from him, but he's a player that I think Wolves fans are backing to have a good 9 games.
It's quite interesting because
Jota, Neves got players in the ranks there that are good footballing players. Moutinho, like, it's just non-stop.
So underrated, yeah.
I mean, it's quite interesting. This lockdown has been quite an interesting thing because we there's 1 or 2 players that Moyes has brought into our squad that may get a run out. We don't know. It may be surprises against teams. We've got Xande Silva, who's been in our under-23s for quite some time. And he, the only reason why he hasn't really progressed is because he had a long-term illness. But he's been training with the first team, and I just wonder if managers are going to try and spring a few surprises. So it probably wouldn't be a surprise. Well, it'd be a surprise if someone like Silva came on, an unknown source, to kind of change the game for West Ham. And it sounds like you've got the similar sort of thing with some of your players.
Yeah, well, I'd know of that guy. Obviously, I'm quite have my ear to the ground with Portuguese players because normally Wolves end up signing them. So I always keep tabs on who's around. And one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about as well with Haller, I had him in my FPL team at the start of the season. And he was brilliant in a 2 up front last season, and then you were playing him on his own, and I couldn't get my. I know you guys will feel the same. We couldn't get your head around that.
Welcome to it.
But could that be a thing in playing Silva and Haller maybe, or something like that? I couldn't. Do
you want to go on that, Ant?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a West Ham fan, Finn, the biggest thing we've had a problem with is, Still mentioned we signed Chicharito Hernandez. And it was, if you remember when we signed him, the club put out, it was like legendary signing. Everyone was so excited and buzzing to bring on this player who can score goals, the fox in the box. And then we played him up front on his own. and then we dropped him
and ruined him. You know,
yeah, we dropped him and then rested him and then brought him on and then put him on up front again on his own. Or no, we dropped him, put in another player, played someone else up top with him. Then they got, and then we brought Hernandez back. When we brought him on as a sub, he was playing up top again himself. Now, West Ham have got a history of doing this with every single striker or every single player we buy. And we're doing it currently with Sebastian Haller. But Hernandez in particular, we hit that really good spell over the winter period last winter, and he played with Anderson in behind Chicharito and someone else supporting Chicharito. And Chicharito went a run of scoring something like 3 or 4 goals in a run of like 6 games or something like that. And that was the players we got to see. And then Sebastian Haller, again, when he's played well this season and scored goals, is when he's been supported. And we'll talk about West Ham in a minute, but in particular the Southampton game 2 or 3 games before lockdown happened, when we had Antonio and Bowen supporting Sebastian Haller, it was just a different West Ham. It was just a completely different West Ham, and it was a completely different Sebastian Haller. So it's really good that you kind of clocked onto that, because it is that is literally, as fans sitting at the sideline looking at a player of that quality, because he does have quality, to not have more goals. It's not really down to his own fault. I mean, he's not supported. How many times do we watch the game still and we're like, look, he is the only player in opposition half.
And we think that in order to give any other teams that we play some sort of a real fight, it's only when our front man is supported up front. If we play Haller up front on his own, you're going to have an easy time of it tomorrow. Because he won't be in the game. And as Anton just said, when we have played players around him, we have been a completely different team. And the guys, I mean, you don't go from scoring, 20 odd goals a season in a front 2 or a front 3 to being rubbish the next season. And people sort of talk about, it's a new league. The Premier League is different, and so on and so forth. But you play to a player's strengths, and you get the best out of them. And your manager does just that. The way he's brought the players in. I mean, he did God knows how many players he's brought in the time he's been there. But it's been quite a revolution.
But also, the fact is, he was a goalkeeper. I still can't get my head around that, because how many goalkeepers do you know have been successful coaches or managers throughout the years? There's not a huge amount that you could list off the top of your head. I couldn't even name one, to be honest.
Absolutely. But what your manager has done is he's bonded them, and he plays to every player's strengths. I mean, we've been linked to a number of your players. Dodonka, there was talk about him coming to West Ham. And so on, and I just think it's just your manager and the way he manages your team. You can tell that he brings players in to fit into positions that he needs. Whereas we seem to buy players because
good name,
because there's a name. And I think with David Moyes now. I think with David Moyes now, I think that might change, but it's going to be interesting to see if we survive the season and stay up, and what he does with the team, because he's talking in the same manner as what most managers will do. They'll say, I need to have 11 positions. I need to have the players to play in those positions, rather than, buying players and then not utilizing them to their best skills. But, all fair play to Wolves. I mean, it's really quite interesting when you guys came up. What was it? Is it 2 seasons you've been up in the Premier League now?
Yeah, this is our second one. Yeah,
our second season, and it's quite interesting because we always do a review show at the beginning of the season to sort of, say where would each team end up, and where you guys have finished last season is where we said we would be. And we even this season we said the same. We thought we would be in the position that you guys are in. So all credit to you, but we hope we're going to change that tomorrow.
And, with Wolves' stats so far, has played 29 games. They've won 10, lost 6, scored 42, conceded 34 with 8 clean sheets. Can we read into that anymore, or is this a hit the reset button? This is, like you said, a COVID-19 pre-lockdown mini league. Is everything out of the window? Is team selection going to be based upon what was happening prior to the the pandemic, or is it going to be who's been performing well on the training pitch, etc.? I mean, where do you think Wolves are going to be at when it comes to the rest of the season, and in particular tomorrow?
Yeah, well, if our friendlies are anything to go by, we lost to Nottingham Forest and drew with Birmingham, so it doesn't sound like anyone's particularly impressed in the friendlies. But as for on the point of Nuno just going back, like Nuno picking players to play positions. Like there's one of the ones I'd highlight to get at for West Ham, ironically, even though he's been brilliant, is that Conor Coady struggled with a big man whenever there's been a big man on him. Even though he was a right back and centre mid for Wolves, we're now playing him as a sweeping centre half. Doherty now playing as a right wing back as well. So as well as bringing in loads of players, we have somehow taken a guy we signed for £20,000, and now he's one of the best right wing backs, attacking wing backs in the league. And then Coady we got for $2 million from Huddersfield. We've made some real smart signings like that. But yeah, as for the team selection, I think we very rarely changed anyway. So there's not, even if we could change much, there's not many other players that could actually come in. But I don't think you can read into form. I think looking at our stats for the season, our losses are very, very impressive. Only Liverpool have lost less games than us, and that's the one obviously just before the lockdown. But I think the problem was we drew quite a lot. I think before lockdown, 3 of our last 5 were 0-0s. So I hope that's not something to read into tomorrow, because the games have been quite slow as they are. So if they're even slower than we were making them, because as you said from the stats as well, we don't score too many, but we definitely don't concede too many either. So it's all about defence first, that 5 at the back, keeping solid. Maybe sometimes 3 in midfield. We vary from a 3 up front and a 2 up front. That's when we've seen the best out of Jota, when he's in a striker position instead of the wing. So it'll be one of those 2. We seem to go with the 3 midfield, 2 up front against. It's almost like we go top 10, we play that, and then bottom 10 we play with the 3 up front. So a Jota, Jimenez, Traore, and I can't really look past that. We need some goals, no more 0-0s, and that's probably what I see us going with.
So I'm going to put you under a bit of pressure here. Predictions.
It's so like, even if this was a game without all this going on, but trying to figure out how these games are going to go, how the crowd's going to affect things. But I'm gonna
on that. The lack of crowd.
exactly. Lack of.
Just on that. So I don't know if you know, but this is what Wolves and West Ham will be walking out to tomorrow.
Wow. Yeah.
So for any of the fans that are watching, of course, you'll know that they are tarpaulin sheets, obviously branded, put over the seats, as I was saying previously, and we'll talk about this later on, Finn, when you leave the show, but it just looks so much better with claret on the seats than it does as white. It looks more like a football stadium. It looks more homely, but it doesn't look that bad, to be fair. I mean, it doesn't look so empty, even though it is going to be empty. But that's what the players will be walking out to tomorrow. On top of that, Finn, there will be the bubble machine will be on.
I saw that.
So hopefully that will put off some of the Wolves players, maybe getting one of the goalkeeper's eye or something like that.
It's funny you say that with the bubbles. I'm adapting my videos on my separate channel, doing like the vlogs and stuff of watching from home. And I just said, when I saw that news today, I said, can we make it like a 4D cinema? If we've got any little bottles of bubbles that we can blow when the teams come out or whatever, and make it proper like we're feeling we're there. But no, I did see that. So a little tactical bubble in the eye. That might be a good plan.
So in this mini 9-game season, what's your prediction for tomorrow's game?
I don't think we'll lose. However, I'm sort of leaning towards a draw, to be honest. We're slow starters as it is, let alone when there's been this much of a gap. But I want to see some goals, not another 0-0. So I'll say 1-1, and then we'll build on that.
Right. Cool. And then there's obviously, we were looking at some stats of is it the Bundesliga still? We've been talking to one of the guys.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to mention. It's really interesting because there's a high percentage of games in the Bundesliga where the away team has won.
Yeah.
So I think the home team is something like 25% win rate or something like that. And I think most of those are Bayern Munich and teams like that. So it's really quite intriguing because we've been talking about, even though the London Stadium is not like our old ground, when the team aren't playing well, the atmosphere can be quite tense at the London Stadium. And that sometimes will get to our own players, let alone the opposition. And we've been kind of saying that it might be a blessing in disguise that there aren't any fans there, because it might actually help West Ham relax a bit and play a decent game. And I mean, we need it. I mean, I know you want it because you're going for Europe, but we need it to stay in the league. And I think it's going to be quite an intriguing game tomorrow. But I think it will be quite tight. You know, you said did you say a 1-1? You said a draw.
1-1, yeah.
1-1, yeah.
Well, listen, Finn, thank you very much for joining us. We're not leaving yet, but we're going to let you go away and watch the football tonight.
Perfect timing. Thank you.
Yeah, myself and Stella are going to carry on a little bit and talk about West Ham. Finn, thank you very much. You're more than welcome to come back on the channel anytime. Obviously, if you want to talk about West Ham or if West Ham are playing Wolves. So, take care, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Cheers.
Best of bad luck for tomorrow.
Likewise to you.
See you guys.
Cheers. See you.
So, Stel, that was good to have a kind of Wolves fan opinion on. Yeah. Get your comments in below. Let us know your thoughts on what Finn said there about Wolves. But let's get on to our.
And let us know if you like to have this preview the day before, because I know a lot of previews go out 2 days before. So we're doing something different here. We don't know if it's going to work, to be honest with you, until we see the stats later on. But you know, I think it'd be good to find out what people think, whether the day before is good or whether we should continue doing it 2 days before or whatever. But sorry, go on, mate.
Let's get on to our beloved West Ham. 29 games played, 7 wins, 16 losses, scoring 35 goals, conceding 50 goals with 6 clean sheets. But the but is,
we're back to reality, aren't we?
Do you really read into that? Or, you know, come this time tomorrow night, are we going to be sitting here ranting again because the same West Ham have turned up? Or
it's really, really hard to say. It's because you can treat it as a mini league because it's been, you know, there's been such a long delay. And just like most other teams, we've got virtually a fully fit squad. You know, I think my understanding is there are 1 or 2 niggles where we're worried about whether Ogbona's going to make it. Noble sat out the last friendly against Palace, so we don't know what we're meant to read into that. But we've got a full. That aside, you know, we've got virtually all our players back. Absolutely. And Moyes has brought in a couple of under 23s. He's brought Cardozo in, probably to cover just in case Ogbonna doesn't make it. I don't know if you guys, people that are watching, I don't know if you guys remember Cardozo. He was signed from either Sporting Lisbon or Benfica. I can't remember which one. Might have been Sporting Lisbon, and we kind of got the impression that this central centre back was meant to be like ready to go, young guy, but we were under the impression he was going to sort of make the first team, but he was promptly plopped into the under 23s, and we hadn't seen or heard about him since then until we saw pictures of him in training. So players like that, Xande Silva, as I mentioned, Ben John. Sorry, mate.
Boa Vista.
Well done. Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson. They've all been brought into this squad, and it does feel like it's the beginning of a new mini season. And I'm really hoping, mind you, I'm really hoping we hit the ground running tomorrow. We need it. We have to. We've got no choice. We've got to go for it. And I know it's quite interesting. We've been talking about, you know, do we sit back and pick teams off, or do we go for it? In my mind, the times when we've played well this season is when we've gone for it, when we've actually gone right at every team. And Wolves is not the sort of team that we can sit back on. They've got too many technically gifted players for us to sort of sit back and try and hit them on the break.
Yep. Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting one, though, still, isn't it? It's like it's an interesting preview because we literally don't have a clue what's going to go on. It's been so secretive in the 2 friendlies that we've played that we've won both those games, but we have played every player under the sun in those games, except for, of course, Mark Noble in the last game, which I think you've been trying to read between the lines and try and work out if there's anything to look into with regards to that still. Mark Noble.
I'll be really honest with you, mate. and I know people are going to hate me for it, but fit or not, I'm, and I know we've had this discussion before, but he wouldn't be in my team, and not because I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just think that we've got we can't play with three holding midfielders, which will be Rice, Noble, and Souček. We can't do that. Yeah. And I know it's been said, well, Souček can help in the attack, etc. But he's not. You know, he is a box to box. But if you need to go at this team or any team, you need to have enough players on the pitch to do that. And I don't know the situation with Noble. I don't think anybody does. We'll know tomorrow, won't we? We'll know at 4:30 when the teams get announced what the situation is with Noble. But even if he is fit, he should be he should be on the bench. Start with Souček and Rice. Have around Hilaire enough support for us to be able to score some goals, because we're not going to stay in this league if we try and hold on. And I mean, do you remember when Moyes first came back and he played one of the first 2 or 3 games where he was holding on, and it was not good. It felt horrible. It didn't feel like we were playing a game that we wanted. You know, the whole thing about parking the bus, and that's exactly what Moyes tried to do. And then he turned it around, and he started playing with more. Remember, we were saying, you know, when's Bowen going to start? When he's going to play Bowen? And as soon as he started playing more attack-minded players, we changed, and we started getting teams afraid of us. And that's what we've got to do. 9 games to go. Teams have got to be afraid to play against us. Absolutely. Because if they're not, then well, we know what's going to happen.
Well, I can't help but feel, to be honest, that we are going to enter this into this mini season that we've got coming up, and hopefully, you know, there's a few things that we can play to the advantage. I mean, to be honest, I looked at that image today of that stadium with all those. I'll bring it up again, and it didn't look bad at all, mate. It looked decent. It looked really.
It does, yeah. It does.
Really highlights what
some
of the problems are with the stadium. If anything, it makes it feel a little bit tighter. It makes it feel a little bit, you know. And also the thing about it is, and you notice it with other clubs do have empty seats, but because the colour of the seats is the colour of the home strip. So, for example, Old Trafford, when you're at Old Trafford, not every single seat's sold out all the time. The tickets may be sold, but the fan's not sitting in that seat. But because it's red, you don't notice it as much. And that's the big factor there, and it makes it feel a little bit more intense.
We've got Nigel on watching at the moment, and he'll tell you.
That's Nigel who's going to be doing a new show for us, isn't it?
Yeah, and and he will tell you tomorrow's attendance will be 59,600 fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, I mean that stadium with the seating looks fantastic. I mean, you know, if you look at my new photo, Nigel, I know you like it, mate. Same thing, red seats, claret seats, you know, and it makes a vast difference. So. Fair play to
actually
the club for
doing something on your new picture still.
Go
on,
mate, what's that?
Old image of Upton Park, because it's during the era of Dagenham Motors. Do you clock it?
Yeah, it's the old image. Yeah,
I like it. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah.
And then there's some more images of the stadium tomorrow. Listen, there's going to be 5 substitutions. Think that will play an advantage to?
I hate that idea. I hate it. I understand why it's needed because the players haven't played for so long, but I think it's going to be bitty. It's going to break up the momentum. It's going to break up the formation. It's going to. I mean, I keep saying it. I said it a few weeks ago in one of our shows when you know, we can't even get 1 sub right, let alone getting 5. When Masuaku came on against Brighton at home, we were winning 3-1. Within 30 seconds of him coming on, we conceded a goal from that side. Within another 5 minutes or so, we conceded another goal, and it was all down to 1 substitution. So can you imagine David Moyes making 5? That's I mean, right. It's going to be absolute chaos.
It was a Masuaku and Ogbonna circus, wasn't it?
Well, let's not pick on Ogbonna, mate. But
listen, a few other things.
No, I actually don't think it's a good idea, but I get why. I get why it has to be done. I get why.
Well, we've got some images here. I know we've showed them to you before of the friendly games. Sebastian Hilaire played 2 friendlies, Crystal Palace and QPR, and scored 2 goals. We've got Ajeti, who we believe scored a goal also. Your man, Masuaku, played a couple of games. Creswell. Again, we've got Sebastian Haller there. But we're going to talk about a little bit about Ngakia because the saga continues and West Ham are back in, apparently offering him another deal and he's potentially close. But, he's leaving it really tight to make a decision.
Just to show you that I do listen to other channels in more than just a podcast. They mentioned that we've got until the 23rd for Ngakia to sign.
Yeah.
Because it takes 7 days for your registration or something. So the deadline of the 30th of June is only the deadline that he's actually going to walk away from the club.
Yeah.
But he's got to register by the 23rd, and I know he can probably register afterwards. But how does that impact on whether he plays or not? And I think this is just a farce. Only at West Ham could we go 3 months without having nothing. Yeah. Only to come back to a controversy that we've got a player who's only played 4 times is holding us to ransom. Well, we don't even know if he's holding us to ransom or not. We don't know what he wants, and and it was ironic that he came on and played any part of the friendly against Palace at the last weekend, and I think Moyes should have just kept him away. We got Ben Johnson. We know we got Zabaleta, although he hasn't either trained or played, I don't know. So he might be another injury. Fredericks is back. So we got Johnson and we got Fredericks. So why even bother with Ngakia?
It's funny you've just mentioned there Ben Johnson, who obviously has been playing as well. Earlier on, you mentioned Cardosa. There he is. Yeah. But when it comes back to Ngakia, a lot of people are saying that he wasn't the favoured and still isn't potentially the favoured player. Ben Johnson's got held in higher regards more than what Ngakia is, but I always think back to the Ashley Fletcher, Marcus Rashford situation at Manchester United when, Ashley Fletcher was the player that everyone thought was going to go make it, but because he got sold and Manchester United had so many injuries, Marcus Rashford was catapulted into the first team. And now look what he's done. He's a whole new ballgame. And do you know what? We can't fault Ngakia for what he's done in the 4 games he's played. Let's not forget, was it Glenn Johnson when he played for West Ham? I think he only started something like 10 games and then he was sold to Chelsea.
He was sold because we went down.
Yeah. But I mean, he was still young. He was still young, and he was only just started 10 games. I think we got 6 million for him at the time. But I mean, it'll be interesting because the thing is, I mean, we're talking about all these players. We've got choices. I mean, Wilshire's fit again, but there's rumours that maybe he's picked up a strain, but we don't know if that's true or not. I mean,
wouldn't be a surprise, would it?
Yeah, but I mean, we've got obviously, of course, Souček. I mean, for me, this guy is, he's maybe my new guy that I'm blowing his trumpet for again.
Well, I read, because I sort of prepare for all the weekly news. I read in one of the social media things that Souček was going to be dropped and it was going to be Rice and Noble starting, and I laughed out loud. I mean, what a ridiculous suggestion to make that Souček won't start tomorrow. Yeah. I'll eat my hat, and I don't own one, but I'll go and buy one if I have to. But I'll eat my hat.
What he's done and I keep going back to that Liverpool game. All you need to do is watch the first 60 minutes before he got injured and came off as a sub for what he actually did for West Ham in that game. Albeit we did get beat, but it was very unlucky at the time. But let's talk about what we did talk about with Finn. Is the Bowen, Antonio, Sebastian Haller. I mean, you kind of feel like we never really got a chance to really see a lot of Bowen. When he played,
he's shown enough to prove that he's capable, and I mean, you don't know what's happened in 3 months, and you don't know how they've trained, and you don't know who's up for it, etc. And only Moyes can decide that. But in my mind, you're going to play Bowen, you're going to play Haller. Haller scored 2 goals, and I implied when we did the friendly reviews that I know you can't read too much into friendlies, but if he scored. A striker thrives on scoring, whether it be friendlies or not. And if he scored, maybe we finally found a formula to actually help him score. Yeah. And he will be on the up. He scored. Okay, they're only friendlies, but he scored. And I can't see him not starting. I can't see Bowen not starting. Fornals was one of our informed men before lockdown, and I can't see him not starting.
Well, still, you're pretty much naming me your starting 11. So let's start from the back. Fabianski.
Sorry, mate. Yeah.
Let's do it. Fabianski,
absolutely.
Back four.
Fredericks, if Ogbona's fit, Fredericks, Diop, Ogbonna, Creswell.
Do you think? Do you think we might get a surprise when it might not be Fredericks? Do you think?
Well, this is
Ngakia
an
might
interesting.
slot up there?
Well, I don't know. I don't think Ngakia, but I think Jones got a good point, and we've talked about this as well. Will Rice play at the back next to Diop? You know, so if Ogbonna doesn't make it, it wouldn't surprise me if Rice played at the back.
He's probably one of our best centre halves, to be honest. And I tell you what, I mean, I'm. Let's get past the whole digging out Ogbonna, right? Let's get past that. But when Rice plays back there, there's a hell of a lot more calmness than what's there.
Yeah,
when it's Diop and Ogbonna. So whoever Rice, if he does drop back into that centre half pairing, and I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think it would be a good move.
Give an opportunity for the players to go into that position.
Yeah.
You know,
and that would mean that if Ogbonna's not fit, you're not going to put Cardozo on because he's going to be too raw, too new. Balbuena, we don't know what's happened with him in the last 3 months, but Balbuena would be the obvious choice at the back. But yeah, if Moyes wants to play Rice and Noble, if Moyes wants to play Rice, Noble, and Souček in the same team, then you could see Rice going at the back, and then Noble and Souček in the middle. That's possible. But yeah, if Ogbonna's fit, Ogbonna would be at the back for me. And Ngakia, no, mate. He'll be a sub. You know, he'll be used, as one of the subs if we need him. But goodness me, I mean, what would it actually say if he started? What would it say to Fredericks if Ngakia started, knowing that Ngakia has not signed a contract?
Yeah, but the but to that would be, I mean, at the end of the day, he doesn't need to sign the contract until the deadline is there. That's what people also, I think if we remove ourselves from the scenario and put ourselves in similar situations, even at work, you've got a deadline, and sometimes you don't need to do anything until that deadline. So he's not done anything wrong yet.
Yeah,
I know what people are saying. I know what they're going to do, but he also did finish with West Ham prior to the COVID-19. So should things have continued, and we did play well, let's say, and we finished the season, we survived, and Ngakia played those last 9 games alongside the 4 or 5 games he played, or whatever games he played beforehand. I mean, there would be some contention there to say, why drop him? And would he not, in theory, become our first choice player? So if Ngakia has played well and has trained well, why would you drop him? Is it just because of a contract?
Because he's only got 2 games left for us. That's why you drop him.
Well, you know what? That would be a really good sign then, wouldn't it? So if he plays,
well, I think it will be, personally, it would be a massive slap in the face to Fredericks. It would also give the wrong signals to Ben Johnson. Terry Wesley has said that Ben Johnson is a better right back than Ngakia. So I think it will give out all the wrong signals. If Ngakia signs before 4:30 p.m. tomorrow a contract, then yeah, no problem. But if he doesn't, then don't pick him. Simple as that. It's absolutely simple as that.
Let's go on to the midfield.
Easy. Bowen, Rice, Souček, and Antonio,
and
yeah. Up front, between Fornals or Anderson and Hilaire, but probably Fornals, although I desperately want Anderson in the team.
Yeah. That's the thing. The thing is, with that forward line that you've mentioned there, including the names of Fornals and Anderson, who, if you play Fornals to his strength, something that, what was interesting there was Finn, as an opposition fan, knew that West Ham don't play players to their strengths.
There you go.
And that's something that's really key. And we don't do it with Anderson. Even recently, I mean, again, I'm not a very regular on social media, but when you do go into the Lions United Twitter account and you see some people posting stuff about Anderson, but that's not his favourite position. His favourite position is in behind the strikers.
Well, interestingly, there was
Lanzini as well. Like Lanzini's back.
Well, there's Lanzini. Do you know what I mean? Interestingly, there was a photo before the game at QPR against Palace, where there were a cluster of 11 West Ham players looking like they were getting ready for the game. And that was Fabianski, Fredericks, Diop, Balbuena, Creswell, Bowen, Souček, Rice, Antonio.
It's up there for you.
That's it. Anderson and Hilaire.
Yeah.
I think you'll find. I know Hilaire actually wasn't even in there.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting little setup. So could that be the starting lineup tomorrow? So who we got? Let's just double check.
Bowen, Rice, Diop,
Bowen,
Creswell, Antonio,
Fredericks,
Balbuena,
Fornals, Anderson, and Fabianski. So that's not. It looks like, if you had that team starting, it looks like Antonio up front, with potentially Anderson on the left and Fornals just behind him. Yep. That's good, but surprising. But who knows? Yep. We're only going to know at 4:30. For all we know, we might have Wiltshire and Yarmolenko starting.
Yep. Listen, before we move on in the show, tomorrow, tune in. We're going for a live team news announcement, which will be obviously an hour before the kickoff, and then we'll come off, and then we're going live a bit before kickoff for a live watch along. We've got several guests lined up throughout the watch along. We're going to bring them in and out as we go along. Make sure you tune into our channel. Hopefully we'll have a bit of fun. Do you know what? That's exactly what we want to do. We want to just bring this and make it a little bit fun when we do the watch along. We're not taking it massively serious, but we'll try and give you our point of view. And I tell you what, see if you're watching and you fancy just dropping in, send us a message. And if you send us a message, we'll send you a link and you can come live in to the watch along and get your point across during the game. So yeah, make sure you tune in tomorrow. Obviously subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up and comment. Stel, you were talking about the Ring of Steel. This is what the stadium looks like. So if you are going to try and go to the stadium, please don't bother. Pointless. So let's get on to the predictions.
I want to hear your team first. What's your starting lineup?
To be honest, I'm kind of in agreement with what you're saying there. I think it's really tough to name the side on the first one because we have no idea. There hasn't even been an announcement to say there was one COVID-19 positive test that came back from the last round, and we still don't know what player or what team that came from. They haven't announced it yet, so it could be a West Ham player. We don't know. But
do you think Moyes is going to go attack minded, or is he going to be safe?
I think he's got the ability to do a little bit of both because we've got a fully fit squad with players that do have ability, and I think players like Souček and Anderson the two of them alone can provide you with the both things you said, which is protection and the attacking prowess, alongside Hilaire, Antonio, Fornals, Bowen. Endless opportunities there. So it's I don't know. I really don't know. What I'd like to see is I would like to see Anderson play, but also I would like to see Fornals play. I'd like to see Bowen, Hilaire, Antonio.
I think we should just have a goalie, two defenders, and 8 attack-minded players, or 9 attack.
But I do this though. I do this in pre-season. I do this now, and this feels like pre-season to me. I'm doing it again. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling over the top confident, and I don't like that feeling because I think sometimes we're going to finish in the Champions League spot, and now we're fighting for relegation. I mean, still we're joint bottom. We're joint 3 or 4 teams on the same points, only separated by goal difference. There's a real factor that we could get relegated, and we're sitting here, and we've had that 3-month not break. The football's not been on. But it's taken our minds off of the football, and we forgot that in actual fact, quite quickly, in 9 games, we could be playing Championship football next year.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is going on?
Well, in less than 9 games.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, go for your predictions, Stel, and get your team news in the comments and get your predictions in before Stel does it. Go for it.
I'm desperate to say I'm desperate to say a win, but I am a little bit apprehensive, so I'm gonna play it safe. I'm going to say it'll be a draw.
And what score?
I think we're going to score. I think if we do play to players like Hilaire's strengths, I think we'll score goals. Yeah. So I'm going to go for 2-2.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Are you ready for mine?
Oh, here we go. Is it eternally optimistic?
3-1 West Ham.
Oh, fuck. Here we go.
3-1 West Ham. Get your bets on.
This is where we go wrong. We go wrong.
It's not, because I've never changed it. I've never will. I just can't help it. But I just get a really good feeling. I've got a good feeling. I've not got a good feeling about the pandemic and all that crap, and still borderline whether or not we should be playing football. But anyway, we are, and that's what's the reality. So, I'm going to go 3-1. So you've predicted what? What did you say?
2-2.
2-2. I've gone 3-1, and Finn from the Talkin Wolves podcast, who came on earlier on, said 1-1. But listen, before we go, I want to do a little kind of remembrance. Of course, this week we've seen that Vera Lynn unfortunately passed away. And just a little bit about Vera Lynn. She was born Vera Welsh in East Ham on the 20th of March 1917. She began performing in public at the age of 7 at the Working Men's Club opposite Newham Town Hall, just a few hundred yards away from West Ham's Upton Park. Back then, West Ham had been in a Football League member for just 5 years, and the team had been promoted to the First Division and featured in the first ever Wembley FA Cup final the previous year, while the club's greatest ever forward, Vic Watson, was midway through scoring 326 goals for West Ham. She, in the mid-1930s, while the Hammers relegated back to the second division, her own career continued to thrive. And in 1939, with the country on the cusp of the Second World War, she released a song which would become most popular for her amazing career. We'll Meet Again.
Well, I'm not playing that one.
So she obviously did a version of I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles, which I'm not too sure if you ever did know. And it actually featured in her top 100 songs. One of the 12 songs to be included in Vera Lynn 100, a compilation album released by Decca Records. So, yes, just wanted to let you know that we are, of course, thinking of her family, etc. A proper East End girl. And a really cool, interesting fact for you here, Stell. And I've never mentioned this to you before. My dad's mum was like good friends with Vera Lynn back in the day. So two East End girls, and my dad's mum was a manufacturer of nightwear, and back then during those times they hooked up, and my dad went to see Vera Lynn perform, was invited by Vera Lynn and perform. So my dad's been fortunate enough to meet her as well. So
fantastic.
Really, really cool story. So just wanted to kind of let you off with that one. This has been our preview. We hope West Ham are back. It's going to be an interesting one. And let's let the players hear us, and we'll sing from the stands, but of course we won't. So just make sure you're watching us tomorrow live on the watch along, because we'll have a bit of banter. We've got plenty of guests coming on. And of course, we've got people with new shows coming on in the future as well. Anyway, where is he? He's been Stell. I've been Anton. I know there's been comments, but we're nearly an hour into it, so we'll just ignore them tonight, and we'll get to use the next time. Thanks for watching. Come on, you Irons.